Okay, we're live.
Thanks, Rick. I'm
You're
going to
welcome.
call to order tonight's Finance Committee meeting for Monday, November 16th, 2020. The time is 4:30. I'm going to do roll call here before we get started. Lauren McNally. I'm Lauren McNally, Fifth Ward City Council person and chairwoman tonight. We have on the meeting Rick Deek, Anita Davis, Basha Adamzak, Beverly Hosey, Chuck Shasho, Dawn Turnage, Aaron Bishop, Harry Johnson, Jennifer Ozinger, Jonathan Huff, Julius Oliver, Kevin Flynn, Kyle Mizak, Mike Durkin, Mike Ray, Nikki Posterly, Sharon Woodbury, Tito Brown, Valencia Morrow, Chief Finley, Jean Leeson, and Jeff Limbian. Everyone. So we will get started under ordinances number 1 here. Any questions for the wastewater? Any questions here for Jean? Anything? Item number 2 here. Any questions on these truck purchases and dumpster? And this is coming out of part of the COVID money that we received, correct?
Through the chair. Yes, that is correct. We are proposing to fund this acquisition with COVID funds.
Through the chair.
Anita?
Yes. Was this thing originally budgeted?
Through the chair.
Kyle?
No, this was not on our radar. We had, in the budget, we had looked at replacing one of our frontline haulers that we currently have as a result of the fact that all of them were purchased at the same time. They're all going to start eroding and breaking down. So we want to start staggering in, acquiring a new one every year going forward. So we've been talking about that for the last 2 years. And in the current budget, we had put that in as a replacement to start moving in that direction, but we have not actually acted on it this calendar year.
Anything else?
Through the chair.
Anita?
Yes. How is this COVID related?
Mike, are you going to address that?
Yeah, through the chair.
Mike?
Yes, through the chair. We had an increase with our sanitation and dumping and mattresses, and this will take care of our what we collect, all of our mattresses and our dumping. This year alone, just in mattresses, we have paid out in dumping fees $33,663. You know, that's quite expensive. And if we continue this way, which I'm sure we will for at least the next year to 2 years, this will greatly impact our, our budget with regards to the dumping fees. And that's just those mattresses. And that's not including all the trash and rubbish that we've been picking up because of, people are throwing everything out now, and the stuff that we're picking up on the side of the roads, as far as even the street department and litter control and all of that other stuff. So, and this does include 240-yard roll-off dumpsters that we currently have down at the street department right now.
Through the chair.
Anita?
And Mike, do you believe that this increase in the mattresses and the dumping is related to the COVID?
I believe, well, how it got related is our sanitation workers were not allowed to pick up, some of the stuff. So it definitely accumulated. And as Bob Burke saw in litter control, and we saw like in April, May, and June, the increase of mattresses in the areas, around the city have grown drastically, which take up a huge portion of those dumpsters.
Mike?
Yes.
Councilman Ray, sorry.
Through the chair,
Also, it's my understanding, Mike, and maybe you give me a clarification. Generally, like on a roll off, the fee may be, $250 to dump it, but the actual that's the service fee paying to have that taken to and from, and your actual, unit of dumping is around like $45-50. So we're spending a lot of money just by having those roll offs delivered and then picked up and back and forth. Is that how that system works? Do I understand that correctly?
That's correct. Through the chair, that's correct. We actually pay $473 per dump, and we're paying, I believe we're having them dumped at least once, if not twice a week. So the cost is just getting too high. And for us to do this, it's really the only cost for us will be the purchase of the vehicle in the roll-offs. Our sanitation workers will be able to, with Mike Turner, we've worked out a schedule that they'll be able to go and do the same thing that we're paying a private company to do. And then hopefully, once this all ends and things do hopefully get back to some sort of normal, we would like to get the other roll-off dumpsters that we have down at the street department and completely wipe out the private entity, so to speak, doing all of our pickups down there, and we would be able to do it ourselves.
Councilman Ray.
As a follow-up to that, then do we think that at some point we may have the capacity, landlord cleanouts are an issue, perhaps when someone's doing an eviction, we can offer that service to schedule a roll-off that the city's sanitation department does at a competitive rate and, have another revenue source for the sanitation department. Is that anything that we could probably look into, or?
That is something that we are looking into. We are currently doing it right now with our current sanitation trucks. And so we do it with our bulk pickup truck. This truck would enable us to go out there and go ahead and do it. We intend to hopefully do it now with regards, because we will, I'm sure after this is all over, we will see an increase in evictions. And so we intend to do that in the near future.
Okay, thank you. Excited about that. We've been talking about it for quite some time.
Yeah, and I did check around with, just for council, I did check around with a lot of our sanitation companies that are around, and anybody that gets into the business, the first thing they say is we get roll-offs first, because that's where all the money is to be made. And it's quite evident seeing what we spend for these roll-offs. And, we are, and the thing is the roll-offs themselves, the dumpsters themselves are, we purchase them now and they're there for life. So, those are good for 20 years at least, so those are kind of going to be like a one-time thing for the city, in case unless we get into it in a larger capacity.
Lauren, through the chair, can I address council?
Yes, go ahead, Kyle.
Okay, Samantha, Councilwoman Turner, who's unable to be at the meeting right now, had emailed me earlier asking if I would provide what the return of investment is on this particular acquisition. I just want to clarify that when you are actually talking about making an expenditure and looking at cash flow savings, it's not a return on investment, because an investment is what are we going to actually generate on each dollar invested. What this really is you want to look at what's called PBB, payback period. How long does it take for the equipment to pay for itself? So ultimately, if we are going to spend around $33,000 a year, and it's going to cost us roughly $200,000 up front. If we look at if we continued that one service of dumping and transporting just mattresses, and those costs were to continue going forward and stay level at that, it would probably take us about 6 years to pay off that investment if we had used our own capital. But given that we're going to start using it in other areas, if we find that we have alternative areas to concentrate on, if we're not having to just address picking up mattresses, it will shorten that window, because we will actually generate more in savings. So we could potentially shrink that to 4 to 5 years, which would be a great return, because ultimately you want to see about 15% a year or 6 to 7 years out of $100,000 or 100% investment. So we're actually going to potentially see that happen sooner, which would mean that this is a very viable, excellent investment to make.
Thank you, Kyle. Are there any further questions or comments about this one? Okay, I'm gonna move on then. Item number 3 here. Any questions for Chief Finley? I believe this is also COVID-19 money. Okay, I'm gonna keep going. Item number 4 for our elevators. Was our last contract for 5 years, Kyle?
Through the chair, this is Kevin.
Oh,
Flynn.
Kevin, sorry.
Yes, it was.
Okay. Any questions here? Is there any change due to the new elevators that we just put in?
It's my impression that the new elevators didn't change it, but we did get onto this Sourcewell program, which is similar to Ohio State purchasing for equipment. And that is getting us savings of close to $1,000 a year with the option of almost 6% in discounts throughout the contract life.
And this is a program we were not on previously.
That's correct, yes.
Okay. Are there any questions here? I don't see anything. Okay. Thank you, Kevin. Item number 5 here. I think this is for the courts, perhaps. Maybe Kyle can fill in if there's questions here. Kyle, I just had a question. I don't recall. Is this a renewal?
Through the chair, this has been in place going back to when Mr. Samarone was mayor. Myself and Anthony Ferris negotiated this with CCA. At the time, we were doing, the arrests were required for the indigent and the people who were being put in jail. It was costing us roughly $89 a day to house these prisoners. And in the first few years, we incurred hundreds of thousands of dollars of costs. So we entered into an agreement with CCA to provide the admin of administering house arrests, where they actually own the ankle bracelets. They administer putting them on I'm not sure what the person's called, who's the incarcerated person. And then for purposes of tracking, taking care of it, we pay them an admin fee. And then we also pay them a daily fee to actually rent the bracelet or the foot bracelet. And it's costing us roughly, between the admin and the program, about $80,000 to $90,000 a year. But if you go back to when we were putting people into prison, it was costing us 3 and 4 times that. And we felt that this was a much more convenient way. So this is coming back to you, asking for you to renew it for another few years, because ultimately we've been really getting our money's worth in this program. And it is money that's being spent within the community with CCA.
Are there any questions from anyone? Okay, thanks, Kyle. Number 6, I believe this was presented at a Economic Development Committee meeting. So are there any further questions or discussion here? I don't see anything, so I'm going to keep moving. Number 7, questions about this cafe project. I know we've talked about it in the past. Nothing. Okay. Number 8, questions here for the street department.
Through the chair.
Yes, Anita.
For Kevin, so are we now with this here, with this current item, are we now up to snuff, no, up to where we need to be so far as our snow plowing capabilities?
Through the chair,
Yes, Kevin.
I'll answer that question, and then I'll, if I may, combine 8 and 9. They're actually the same piece here.
Sure.
Councilman Davis, I'm not sure what you mean when you say up to snuff. I can give you some background on where we stand currently.
Okay,
Prior to your authorization to purchase these 2 trucks that I'm requesting, we have 18 trucks in the fleet. We've received 3 new trucks in the past year and a half. But other than those 3 trucks, we're running with 2008 year vehicles with a life expectancy of 8 to 10 years on those. So with the terrain that we cover in the city, while we are getting new trucks, they are going to continue to break down. So to answer your question, I say we are moving in the right direction, but it's going to be nonstop for us having to upgrade this fleet for years to come till we actually see a difference in how long it takes us to clear the roads, depending on the depth and the accumulations of the snowfall.
okay, thank you.
Sure. Through the chair,
Go ahead, Kevin.
if I may, combine 8 and 9, and I could explain it a little better here. Number 9 is actually the purchase price for the truck and chassis of the Mack truck. Number 8, that dollar amount is for what we call the build out, which is the actual snowplow, the bed to the truck, and what we are doing a little differently now is we are adding a sprayer setup to it, so we can spray the anti-icing agent not only on the road but also to the rock salt to activate it before it does hit the road. So hopefully, if we do get approved for these purchases, this truck here, this Mack truck, will be specifically for our Madison and Himrod expressways. Once those are clear, we plan on moving those to help out with main roads.
And these 2 purchases are additional for this year, not part of the original budget of purchases, correct?
That is correct.
Oh, sorry.
Kyle?
That is correct.
And can you tell us how we had an extra $200,000 here?
Through the chair, we have received 2 of our 3 worker comp rebates. We need to set aside most of this in reserve to deal with the budget crisis that we're going to be faced with next year. But I do believe, based on conversation with the administration, that we think it is prudent to make this investment in an area that we are, as you heard from Kevin, we are constantly chasing and trying to keep the roads open during snowstorms. So we are concentrating on addressing this, and we feel that these monies will be best invested in spending those dollars right now to make some inroads with this fleet. Because if we do not, it's only going to be harder for the constituents to use city roads when we have snowstorms that we cannot, accommodate.
And Kevin, when will this truck be up and running?
We were guaranteed by the builder on or before January 1st. And also, I'm sorry, I neglected to mention number 10 also. So 8 and 9 are 1 truck, and then number 10 will be a 2nd truck.
Oh, okay, so it's actually like 350,000.
Correct.
That wasn't originally part of your budget, but you have in your budget.
That is
Through the
correct.
chair, Kevin has a number of line items that generate sizable savings. And then when we deposit the COVID funds, because we're required to put them back based on how we were charged premiums, those monies dedicated to the street department along with the savings because of the reduced workload because of COVID. It will be covered from those savings along with those new revenues that will be shared amongst all of the operating funds based on prior year worker comp premiums.
Do you know how much is, do you have the breakdown of how much COVID money and how much rebate money is going towards this?
Through the chair, there is no COVID money going towards the actual purchase of the plow trucks. There is no tie in between COVID and that. The dollars that are being directed here are the savings in the overtime, the savings in motor fuel, because outside of the police department, the street department is the second largest user of motor fuel. And given that the gas prices were much lower over the course of the year, there is a sizable savings in that line item. And then there is going to be additional revenue across all of our funds deposited one time as a result of the 3 worker comp rebates. We are going to utilize those savings along with those revenues in the street department if council approves the expenditure of those monies to purchase these 2 trucks.
Councilman Ray.
Through the chair, Kevin, you mentioned Madison Avenue, I think, and Himrod, which are, I guess, our responsibility to maintain. We all know on those icy mornings, that brings a lot of traffic into the city and especially into the commuters in the YSU's campus. So that would alleviate some of those icy mornings, I guess, and that congestion. I know we've all, maybe in going to the university or commuting to downtown, have experienced, those fender benders on a morning that can be pretty treacherous and back things up for hours.
The chair.
Anita?
Kevin, was Kevin going to answer or?
Oh, sorry. Kevin, go ahead.
Yes, through the chair, absolutely. That's what our goal is. And on top of trying to acquire the right equipment to attack this job, I've also changed the start time. The start time is going to move to 6 a.m. Here in the winter months where it used to be 7 a.m. So if you think right before dawn, typically the temperature drops, and that's where we get our freeze ups on the bridges and overpasses on Himrod and Madison Avenue. So we're going to start at 6 to get the guys out there to pre-treat those roads if they aren't working over the midnight shift to try to get a jump on it so we're not behind the 8 ball there.
Thanks, Kevin. Anita?
It's to the chair, Kevin, this is not related per se to the financial portion of it, but since we're discussing it, how long does it normally take your personnel to do Madison Avenue and Expressway?
Through the chair.
Kevin?
That would all depend on the type of weather event we get. If we're just salting, I mean, we could be done within the hour, but I don't know if we remember in early 19 or late 18, we had over a foot of snow, and we really don't start making any progress until the snow stops flying. And at that, when we did get a foot of snow, it took us 3 full days of working nonstop to make every city road passable.
To the chair, I was just kind of curious about the two expressways, to see how long it takes to salt and or plow, and so that we'll have an idea when they would be able to, those trucks, these new trucks would be able to be utilized on our other streets as well, like Market Street and Mahoning, the main thoroughfares.
Okay.
That was just a ballpark idea.
I'm sorry, through the chair, but yeah, it would, to give you an exact time, it would depend on what type of elements we're dealing with. But we do have that is a dedicated route for us.
Basha?
Thank you, through the chair. This is just more so a comment, not a question. Aside of the things that Kyle mentioned, it seems as though last year we were able to see similar cost savings. So I'm happy to see that Kevin has been able to, I guess, work within his budget. And I know the street department was for many years lacking equipment. So it's nice to see that our fleet and equipment is able to grow so that way we can service our residents. So I'm just grateful for that. And I look forward to having more equipment. That's all. Thank you.
Are there any other questions for Kevin?
Through the chair, if I may,
Yeah, sure. Go ahead, Kevin.
would like to thank Councilwoman for those kind comments, and also all of council for your continued support in the street department and helping us acquire this new equipment needed to attack these big jobs that we do have on hand. And that being said, I do have to go on record and say the overall morale of our department is at an all-time high from all of us investing in our department. I would like to say thank you for your continued support.
That's good to hear, Kevin. Okay, I'm going to just for the record state that Samantha Turner has joined the meeting, Jimmy Hughes has joined the meeting, and David Magura has joined. I think that's it. Okay. I'm going to keep on moving down here. We are on number 11 now. Just to recap that. The street department was 8, 9, and 10. So we are on number 11 now. Questions here. Samantha?
Thank you, through the chair. Chuck, what is the ETA on the completion of the construction?
Chuck?
Through the chair.
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Did you say that, where's the EPA? Is that what you asked?
The completion of the project, the ETA on the completion, Chuck?
Are you saying Echo Tango Alpha, or are you saying Echo Papa Alpha? I can't understand.
Tango, sorry, Tango.
EPA, estimated time, okay.
Yeah.
Most of our upgrades inside the plant are already up and running. There's still some contractors, basically we're at punch list items now. So there things are within the phase 1 of the plant. Most of phase 1 within the current construction contract is about 95, 98% complete. The reason for this item is one of the items that's not complete yet is our bring on our Alum system online. Without the Alum system, we are unable to test the polymer that is being bid. So this is a very unique bid polymer. We already got authorization to bid it. Unfortunately, we can't bid it because the Alum system is needed to test the polymer. And the requirements of the bid is that the bidders come in and provide testing and provide samples for us to test on the polymer. So we can't test the polymer until the Alum system's up and running. So we need to use the same polymer that we're using now to get us by for a few more months.
Thank you. So you'll be able to bid the project in 2 months, and then, is that what you're saying? You said you need it for 2 more months?
Yeah, this is about a 2 to 3 month supply, I believe. Gene, you step in and correct me if I'm wrong. Okay, so it must be about 2 to 3 months.
Okay, so I just to be clear, the construction will be done at that point, or that's
that phase of it, yes.
That phase of
yes, that phase of the Alum, but the Alum portion is part of the secondary process, which is in our next door blower room. Our TransFlow clarifiers are now fully functioning online now. We are pumping out of both pump stations right now. So generally, practically speaking, the project is complete as far as the EPA is concerned. Now we're down to final punch list items and so forth, meaning correcting bugs out of the system and so forth.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chuck. Under number 12, any questions here? I guess they would still go to you, Chuck.
Yes, through the chair, 12 and 13 are both sewer repairs. I don't have the agenda in front of me, I'm sorry, but One is on Broadway, and one was on Lakeview, I believe. And those were two sewer repairs that came from roadway collapses and backups. And I don't know if you got my email, Councilwoman Turner, but I will have those call sheets out to you either tomorrow sometime or first thing Wednesday.
Any questions from anyone else here for 12 or 13 sewer repairs?
I do have another question.
Samantha?
Thank you, through the chair. For this on Broadway Avenue, how much does the sewer damage or collapse affect the surrounding streets? Or are they completely independent?
You mean other streets, or you mean on Broadway itself?
So Broadway, so let's say Emerson, who is a one block up, or Ford, which is right next to it, or Belmont. How would that affect that circle?
The only way that would cause a problem on those streets is if debris washed in the sewer downstream.
Does that happen?
I would say that far, no. That's very rare, almost impossible. On an adjoining street, no, it would not be a concern. And on Broadway in particular was a little nasty because there were several other utilities that had to be relocated before we got to the sewer, much like Stelp Street, although obviously not as complicated. But there was a water line that needed moved, a gas line that needed moved before we can get to the sewer. And just so everybody understands, like when we video camera these sewers, they can show a perfectly good sewer, but you could have a leaky joint that's taking material like an hourglass up top, and we don't even know it. You can't see it. So videotaping a sewer doesn't necessarily, I mean, you might see a big spider web crack in the top of a sewer, but it doesn't necessarily mean that you have an imminent failure. What happens is if you have a leaking joint even in the sewer, then that material starts coming into the sewer like an hourglass, and you don't see it, and all of a sudden you have a void the size of a refrigerator under the road, and you don't even know it's there because the pavement up top looks normal, the sewer looks normal, but you have a big gap in between. So that's probably our most common break when those sinkholes happen.
Thanks, Chuck. All right, I'm gonna keep going. Number 14 is discretionary. Number 15 is transferring discretionary. So is 16. And that's everything on my agenda. So, is there anything under miscellaneous? Okay. Oh, Anita?
I'm sorry, I was muted. I apologize. Is Cal still here?
I see him.
Through the chair, I'm here. How can I help
Cal,
you?
could you email me some material on that recently passed city charter amendment? Could you send me some? Okay. Well, actually, if you would send it to Valencia, she could forward it to all of us. Thank you.
Okay, through the chair.
Anything else for miscellaneous? Okay, I will take a motion. Basha, do you want to do a motion?
Yes, thank you through the chair. I would like to make a motion to forward ordinances 1 through 16 to the council floor for consideration of passage.
Second.
Okay, I will take a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
Thank you, everyone. We're adjourned.